The first Assassin's Creed had you playing the character of Desmond Miles, who, through a machine called the Animus, was able to relive the experiences of his ancestor. And it turns out that his ancestor was an assassin. Now, the cool thing about the game is that Ubisoft hired an entire team of historians in order to make the player feel as if they are within that era. Everything around them had to be as historical accurate as possible. Of course, you are still playing an assassin and you are killing people, so that was the fantasy element. But outside that element, everything that they created tried to be as realistic and as immersive as possible. And they managed to do a great job. I mean, when the Cathedral of Notre Dame caught fire, the architects that were tasked on rebuilding it actually used the Assassin's Creed game and used the cathedral in that game to help them recreate the real thing. I mean, that's just mind-blowing when you think about it. Now, all this realism goes out the window, I would say, around the time where you played the Assassin's Creed in Greece, right? All of a sudden, you get to play as a female character with a manly jawline. And what's interesting is that no one really cares that you're a woman. Like, everyone behaves as if it's modern time. It's removed from the antiquity. And when you look at it, you know, they also censored some of the statues. They were too offensive, right? They showed boobies, so they had to be censored. The assassinations were brutal as ever, like lots of blood and gore, but a little bit of heteronormativity there, like that's for the male gaze, can't have that. And not only that, but there were items in the game, like for instance a vase, which showed that there was a girl and a boy getting lectures from an academic tutor. And interestingly enough, they actually talked about this within the Ubisoft conference, and they said, yeah, this is not historically accurate, but we want it to be inclusive. Like, we know that girls wouldn't go to the academia in ancient time, but fuck that, we're French, but we're inspired by an American ideology, so we have girls on the vase because progressive. And it's interesting because a couple of games before that, they basically said, oh, it would be really cool if the assassins would have a crossbow, but crossbows weren't invented yet, so we're not going to have this in the game. In other words, you notice a huge deviation. Like, if before the game was incredibly rich in history and they had a team of experts that knew what they were doing, now they're moving away from that and they're just trying to have woke ideology injected. And this is a shame because in the first titles, I remember reading through the codexes and studying about the lore, about the places you would visit, about the characters you would encounter, and oftentimes it was stimulating so that you actually read the real thing. Like, after you finish the game, you actually get interested in certain topics and you read the historical things because that's what the game did. It actually encouraged people to get educated and read about real history. But you realize that after a point, none of that is trustworthy. Like, the stuff you read in the codexes was just through a woke lens. Like for instance, there was this historical person in London which was a woman, but she wanted to do business with men. And in order to do that, she would disguise herself as a man. She wasn't transgender, but she was basically doing this disguise in order to manage to do business. And this is historical accurate. But of course, Ubisoft has to make her trans, right? Like, they lapped on that because, representation. So this is what we're talking about. Like, none of the shit that they're adding now is trustworthy. So you now have a title that some people still assume it has historical accuracy. But the reality is that they do not hire competent writers. And they can't hire them because they're incompatible with the shit nepotistic race-based ideological hires that they have. They would rather hire like a liberal white guy that says the correct things than to hire a black person that's skilled. Like this is the absolute state of the industry right now. And these individuals fucked up majorly. Not just by having Yasuke in the game, which, from what I understand, there's actual no historical relevancy besides what Westerners wrote about it. And if you go on Wikipedia, like, that is actually the source. It's like a book written by a white guy, and that's it. So they went out of their way in order to like cast this black guy, and the female character that they casted also looks like a man. Like they do not actually care what the players want. They do not care what the community wants. They only care about what BlackRock wants. And they managed to piss off a lot of people, so much so that even a Japanese senator is now coming in, and he's basically shitting on the game and saying that he's going to launch an investigation in it for insulting Japanese culture. So basically what we're seeing is another Cleopatra event. Cleopatra came out as a documentary from Netflix, and Egypt actually complained, and they were saying that the ideology that's pushing is an anti-Egyptian ideology, like the American belief that the Egyptians were African Americans, so now the current Egyptians are colonizers and they have to be rooted out and pushed away because the current Egyptians live on stolen land and other such nonsense. So it's no surprise when politicians from Egypt came out and disavowed Netflix and disavowed this documentary as well. And so this is exactly what we're seeing here. And it turns out that it's not just, them adding hip-hop music on Japanese themes, but they got the buildings wrong, they got the mannerisms wrong, they got the culture wrong. Because this is what you get, when you're being a cheeky little shit on the internet, and you're putting a game and you're getting criticisms, and instead of being humble about it and say, this is what we want to create, it's fine if you guys don't like it. No, you go like, racismus everywhere. Everywhere there's racismus. Oh, even Elon Musk tweeted against our game. Oh, racismus. And then you go and say, oh, actually Japanese people love it. No, Japanese people are just salivate when they look at Ubisoft. They enjoy this game. It's just like a couple of white people, like the Westerners that hate it. So now we actually have a Japanese senator coming out. And it's like, no, we think it's shit. We think it's utter shit. And they also put Chinese letters instead of Japanese. Like, again, they have a competency crisis. They do not have people that are competent. And this is a AAA studio. Like, you would expect you to see competence there. But the people making the trailer, incompetent. The people that are the historians, incompetent. The people that they even hire, like the sweet baby types, right? Like the consultants, which should make sure that your game isn't offensive. How the fuck do you manage to get like a senator from fucking Japan pissing on your game? How do you accomplish this? How can you call yourself, oh yeah, like we're consultants and we make sure that your game isn't offensive, when you have like the senator from Japan getting offended, right? So they are incompetent as well. Hopefully the game will actually run on launch. Because if not, the coders are incompetent. If we get another Assassin's Creed France, we're going to experience more incompetency, won't we? So yeah, no, like top to bottom, complete incompetence. And they even stole shit from Ghost of Tsushima. Now I will say, Ghost of Tsushima also inspired itself from Assassin's Creed, but they're not a big studio. So it's excusable for them. Like, you can say, yeah, I mean, they're not AAA, like, they made, like, an Assassin's Creed game, but, like, they added so much on top of it that it was okay. Meanwhile, Ubisoft is a AAA studio. Why do they have to create clone games? Why can't they hire creative people? It's not a bad thing, I'm just saying. It's like, really? Like, is this... do you not have any pride? Do you not have any honor in your ability to create games that you have to rip off the UI and the combat mechanics from another game that just happened to be popular? Like, people were begging Ubisoft to make an Assassin's Creed game since Assassin's Creed 3. Like, people were begging them to do it. They don't do it. They actually wait for someone else to do it. And they do it, and it's popular, and it's good. And now they're, oh shit, we can rip this off. Just shameful display. Absolutely shameful. Oh, and there's accusation of them using AI to generate images. Like, again, people wouldn't look at this game and rip it apart if it wasn't for the CEO, sorry, not the CEO, but the people involved with the production coming out and calling everyone a racist and gaslighting people, saying, no, actually Japanese love the game. So, using DeepL to translate, Hamada wrote on X, request for opinions. We have received a consultation regarding the alteration of Japanese history by a French game company. We shared the consultation below with images. We have also quoted a post that we believe points out the problem with the game in question. We would be happy to receive your comments and suggestions. Also translated by Dipel, the quoted post reads, "Don't misunderstand why Assassin's Creed is on fire. Black people are the main characters." Someone else responds, "I don't really care. Non-Japanese people are flaving on their own." It's kind of funny. I guess like in Japan, they're gaslighting the opposite. It's like only Japanese people are complaining, but Westerners love it. And in the West, it's just like, no, Japanese people love it, but Westerners hate it. So, yeah, no, it's a shit show. It's an absolute shit show. And they have, like, the petition with 81,000 signature. The real question, though, is it's going to sell or not. Like, this is what I want to know. Usually, if this was, like, 4 years ago, I would say that it may sell. Today, press X to doubt. And I see, like, a lot of developers being very nervous about it. So, we're not going to know. But $120 for this game? Fuck that shit. No. Even if it wasn't with the controversy with Yasuke and shit, like I just the only reason I played Assassin's Creed wasn't for the gameplay or anything. It was for the historical immersion. And if I see that you can't hire talented people in order to do proper history, and you're throwing Chinese letters in a Japanese game, no, absolutely not. You're not worthy of my money. You didn't work for my money. You need to work for my money. Work harder. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.